So I've always been a hopeless romantic. I love watching romantic movies. I love being romanced. I love flowers. I love cute little thoughtful gifts. And I've always wanted a healthy and loving relationship. But historically, that is not what I would attract. Instead, I would attract men who would lead me on, or who would lie to me, or who would treat me less than I really deserved and desired. So about 2.5 years ago, I left a 1.5 year long relationship, and I got real with myself. And I asked myself, why is it that I'm not attracting the relationship and the men that I truly know I deserve? Because I knew that it came down to me. I was the one attracting these relationships and these men into my life. And so it was up to me to change myself, to raise my standards, to then attract what it is that I truly desire. So then I went on a journey of healing myself. I went on a journey of really getting to know myself, getting to know what I truly want in a relationship, what I value from a partner. And I went on a journey of learning and unlearning a lot of behaviors so that I could then attract a beautiful, loving, and healthy relationship that I'm in now. So in today's video, I want to walk you through how I did this. I want to walk you through those behaviors that I changed, the things that I had to unlearn and then learn to then attract what it is that I truly desire and deserve. So with that being said, welcome back to my series on becoming a high-value woman. This is episode 2, and this is all about dating. And so in today's video, we're gonna be talking about being a high-value woman when you are dating. And then just like I said in the last video, a high-value woman is not about the value somebody else places on you. It's about the value that you place on yourself. It's about raising your standards, setting healthy boundaries for your life, and really staying true to what it is that you want so that you can attract what you desire in your life. And you can attract the absolute best experiences in your life, the best relationships, the best friendships, the career, everything that you desire. It all starts with you, because everything in life is a mirror. You are attracting what you are. So with all of that being said, let's get into today's video. By the way, if you're liking this series and if you like these kinds of videos, definitely make sure to hit the subscribe button. I have so much more where that comes from. And also make sure to hit the little notification bell so you can stay tuned for these videos. And I'll be putting this video on a playlist, so if you haven't seen episode 1, you can go ahead and click the link in the description box so you can watch that one as well. So in order to be a high-value woman in terms of dating and to really attract the relationship and the love that you truly desire, you first need to be okay with being alone, and you need to fall in love with your solitude. And that doesn't mean that you don't want a relationship, and that doesn't mean that you need to pretend that you don't want a relationship. It just means that you need to be so okay with being alone that you never settle in a relationship. There is nothing worse than feeling miserable in a relationship. I would rather be alone for the rest of my life than be miserable in a relationship, and that should be your standard. And I do have a video on my channel all about being your own best friend and falling in love with your solitude, but basically, in order to do this, you need to fill your life up. Fill your life up with hobbies, with passions, with big goals, with dreams, with visions. You know, I think that as women, we grow up and we kind of like idolize being in a relationship. We idolize this Prince Charming, you know, like you watch all the Disney movies growing up and the Prince Charming is there to save the woman. And everything in her life is all about being in a relationship, being married, having kids. So we kind of grow up as women feeling like that's our purpose and like that's all we are truly working towards in life. And I remember feeling that way too, but there is so much more to life than your relationship, than your love life. You know, you have your friends, you have your career, you have your health, you have your dreams, your family. There's so many other facets to your life. And so falling in love with your solitude means building your entire life up and having this full and vibrant life without a relationship, so that when you do get into a relationship, it adds to your life. It doesn't become your entire life. I definitely made that mistake in my early 20s, making my relationship my entire life, getting into these relationships and completely losing myself. I would stop doing the habits that made me feel good. I would stop going after my goals and my dreams because my relationship would just be my entire life. And honestly, a really great way to do this is to become an entrepreneur, start your own business, because trust me, when you start your own business or you become an entrepreneur, you become a freelancer, you start to do your own thing outside of a typical 9 to 5, trust me, you will not even have time to waste on people who aren't really what you deserve or who aren't adding to your life. And I feel like that's when I really shifted making relationships my entire life, was when I started to pursue my own dreams, my dreams of being a YouTuber, my dreams of being an entrepreneur and having my own successful business. Once I started pursuing that path, I was like, I don't have time to waste on somebody who isn't what I really want in life or isn't really treating me the way I deserve or who isn't adding to my life, because I don't have time for that. I have goals and I have dreams to accomplish. Okay? Okay, the next thing is that when you're dating as a high value woman, you want to have standards and you want to have high standards. And so in order to have standards, you first need to know what your standards even are. So something I did after I left my previous relationship is I wrote down in my journal a couple different lists. So the first list was kind of just like a brain dump of everything that I wanted in a relationship. I wrote down my non-negotiables. So, you know, I wanted a man that was ambitious. I wanted a man that was self-aware and that had high emotional intelligence. These were all non-negotiables for me. And then on the next piece of paper, I wrote down all of my deal breakers. These were things that I knew if a man had this, it was an absolute deal breaker for me. I would not continue the relationship. So for me, that's things like if he's lazy, or if he doesn't have a vision for his life. And then on the next list, I wrote down all of my red flags. So these were similar to the deal breakers, but these were kind of things that I would just make sure to look out for because I knew that to me, these were red flags. If I saw any of these, that means I'm out. So for me, that's things like men who are misogynistic, men who talk down about other women, men who are rude to waiters or to any person who's a staff member. And so I think having these lists and just knowing what it is that you want, knowing your non-negotiables, your deal breakers will allow you to know what to look out for when you're dating. And the thing about these lists is that this often comes with experience. You don't really know what you want or what you don't want unless you get out there and you experience. So this is why I'm a huge proponent on dating. Download a dating app. Go out and date people in your city. Just go on dates and meet new people so that you can start getting a feel for what it is that you want. What are your deal breakers? What are your non-negotiables? What are your red flags? Because for everybody, it's different. You might not resonate with some of the things that I said, or you might resonate with the things that I said, but it's important that you know what yours are. But just as important is you also want to be aware of your own tendencies when you date. So for example, for me, I know that I'm the type of person where I get attached pretty easily. So because I knew this about myself, when I was dating, I would make sure to take things very slow so that I could stay level-headed. Because we're not trying to be obsessed with people and become so overly attached before we even really know them. And that's something that I would consistently remind myself is I don't know this man. He's a stranger. He still needs to show me who he is. And when I say show me, I say show me in actions, not just his words. So once you become aware of your tendencies, this is when you also want to heal those tendencies, heal your trauma around relationships, around men, around dating, so that you don't continue to attract the same guys over and over again. If you have a tendency to attract men who are emotionally unavailable or men who don't want to commit, then really ask yourself, what is it that is attracting you to this type of person? What is it within you that you need to heal to then no longer attract this type of person and no longer be attracted to that? That was when I knew I was healing, when I was no longer attracted to emotional unavailability, inconsistency, instability, or a man who wasn't interested in me. No, that no longer becomes attractive when you heal yourself and when you work on yourself and you heal your relationship trauma, because it is not attractive being with a man who doesn't want you. A man should never have to tell you twice that he doesn't want you. And he doesn't even have to tell you. You can tell in his actions when a man doesn't want you. Don't lie to yourself. You know straight up when a man doesn't like you, when he doesn't want you. And if you find yourself still being attracted to that, you need to sit with yourself. You need to figure out, why is it that I'm attracted to this? And if you can't figure it out on your own, talk to your friends, talk to a therapist. You might have to go in your past and see, like, why am I attracting this into my life? Why am I still attracted to this? Is it something from my childhood? Is it something from a previous relationship? There's a lot of work that I had to do on myself to start attracting new experiences into my life in terms of dating. I had to really heal my relationship trauma. I did a lot of EFT tapping. I worked with an EFT practitioner to heal the relationship trauma that I had, so that I can then really make sure that I was attracting what I truly deserved, and I could stop attracting men who weren't interested in me or who were treating me less than. Now let's talk about mindset. You want to change the way you view men and really make sure you have an abundant mindset when it comes to dating. I used to be that girl too that was like, all men are trash, all men suck, all they do is cheat on you and lie to you and blah, blah, blah. And guess what? That is all I would attract, is because I kept on saying those things. I kept on surrounding myself with women who would only say those things. And so when I wanted to change what I was attracting into my life, I really paid attention to what I was consuming. I paid attention to the women in my life. And I stopped hanging around women who were in unhealthy, toxic relationships, letting themselves get cheated on constantly, not standing up for what it is that they deserve. And I stopped consuming content talking about things like that. And I started changing my language as well. I stopped saying things like all men are trash, there's no good men out there. And instead I started to look out for examples of healthy relationships. And I can confidently say that at this point in my life, I am only surrounded by high value women. By women who have high standards for themselves, not just in their lives, but also in their relationships. The women in my life who are in relationships are in very healthy, loving, and strong relationships. And they are with men who treat them like princesses. And when you are surrounded by women like that, it makes it really, really hard for you to settle for less than you deserve. Because if you see a girl being treated like a princess, your best friend being treated like a princess, then you're gonna be like, why can't I get that? Like, why can't I get treated like that as well? Whereas if you see your best friend getting cheated on left and right, getting, led on or whatever it is, then you start to think that that is normal. Not only that, but she will tell you that that's normal as well. And if you go to that friend and you ask her, oh, should I stay with this guy who's not treating me that great and blah, blah, blah. If that girl is also not getting treated great in her relationship, she's gonna be like, yeah, don't worry, like stay with him, men can change, whatever, that's the best you'll get, he loves you, whatever. Like she'll convince you to stay in a shitty relationship. Whereas if you go to a high value woman who has a healthy, loving relationship and you tell her, all the shit your situationship is doing, she's gonna be like, leave that man. Leave that man. And that's the kind of women that you want to surround yourself with. And I'll definitely talk about that more in the friendship part of this series. But be very mindful of who you're surrounding yourself with. And not even just that, but also what you're consuming. So a big part of shifting my mindset was shifting what I was consuming. So I started consuming a lot of content about being a high value woman, content like this. And I'll leave a couple different creators down in the description box of women that I just love their content. They talk about being a high value woman. For example, Michelle Diaz, Margarita Nazarenko. Those are my top two, my favorite. When you watch their content, tell me you don't feel empowered. You feel like a bad bitch. And you're like, wow, I've really been settling for less. And yeah, can that content sometimes be triggering? Yes, because it makes you realize, wow, I have really been putting up with shit that I don't deserve to be putting up with. And sometimes that can be a hard pill to swallow. But the more you consume content like that, and the more you get into that mindset of being a high value woman and really understanding men, understanding the way men work, the more you do that, the more your mindset will shift to then be this high value woman and really notice and become aware of what it is that you're attracting so that you can start shifting what it is you're attracting. And there's also some really good books on this topic as well. I read the book Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, by Steve Harvey. And that was a really good book to just really understand men and the way they think when it comes to relationships. Also, Why Men Love Bitches, that's a really good book too. What I'm about to say may be controversial, and if you don't agree with me, that's fine. We can have our own opinions. At the end of the day, it's your body. You can do what you want with your body, but I'm sharing with you what I've learned from my own experience, from seeing my friends and also other women's experiences. But if you desire a real, loving, and healthy relationship, and you desire a high value man, don't sleep with men too early. Now, if you want to be casual, if you want to hook up with men, fine. But you need to be honest with yourself. What is it that you truly want? Do you want to just be casual and hook up with men, or do you only want that because you know that's what he wants? So be honest with yourself and ask yourself, what do you want? If you know that you want a relationship, that's what you want right now, don't sleep with a man too early. Don't sleep with him on the first date. And of course, are there exceptions? Are there women who are happily married who slept with their man on the first date? Of course, there's always an exception, but that exception shouldn't be the rule. Because what typically happens 9 times out of 10 when you do sleep with a man on the first date, he switches up. His energy switches up. He no longer shows up the way he was showing up before you slept with him. In Steve Harvey's book, Act Like a Lady, Think Like a Man, he goes into depth about this. He talks about the 90-day rule, waiting until 90 days before you sleep with a man. I don't necessarily think there needs to be like a specific timeline, like you need to wait 3 months, you need to wait a year, you need to wait until however long. But I do think that you need to wait until you feel 100% safe with this man, comfortable with this man, and you know that he has shown up for you continuously, not just in his words, but in his actions. Are you truly happy with the way that he is showing up? Is he consistently showing to you that he desires a relationship, that he desires more with you? Is he making an effort to create something with you? And when you can confidently say, yes, and I know that this is gonna become something beautiful and I feel safe and I feel comfortable, then go ahead, do it. But don't do it too early. Because that is when we get attached, and once we get attached, it becomes so much easier to lower our standards. So wait until he shows you who he is continuously. Wait until you feel safe enough in your body around him and comfortable enough around him to be intimate in that way with him. And now that we're talking about waiting until you see how he shows up for you, let's talk about stop believing his words. Stop falling for a man's words and instead fall for his actions. I think it is really easy for us as women to get swept up in what a man is saying to us, what he's saying he's going to do, what he's saying he feels about you, but then his actions don't align with that. So don't believe his words, believe his actions. If his words don't align with his actions, don't believe a single thing he says. Okay, so let's say you are dating, you're putting yourself out there, and you know that you want a relationship. Like, you know that's what you truly desire right now is a loving relationship. Be upfront with that. Be upfront with what you desire. That way you can very quickly weed out the ones that don't want what you want. Before I met my boyfriend and I was dating, I would tell men straight up, hey, I'm not interested in anything casual. I'm not interested in hooking up. I'm looking for a relationship. So if you don't want that, then let's not continue this. And personally, I didn't even give them the option of just being friends because I have no interest in being friends with a man, especially if I already have some level of attraction to him or some emotion to him, then I know that's just, it's not gonna be pretty. Like, I don't need to be friends with you. So in those beginning stages, be upfront with what you want. Be upfront with the things that you desire in a relationship. If you're a romantic person and you love being surprised with flowers, you love cute, thoughtful little dates, like things planned out for you, tell him that that's the kind of woman you are and see if he shows up for you. We are not asking these men to do these things for us. We are simply telling them, like, hey, that's what I desire in a relationship. And then you see if he shows up for you in that way. So a lot of it in the early stages is literally just seeing how a man shows up for you, seeing the effort that he puts in for you, and seeing if he is aligning with what you desire when you tell him up front that that's what you want. We can't just expect men to read our minds. We have to tell them what we want. If you want a man who's a provider, tell him that up front. When I was on my very first date with my boyfriend, I told him that that's what I want and that's what I expect out of my future relationship. I told him, hey, when I'm married, like, I want a man who's gonna be the provider, who's going to take care of the family. And I told him straight up that I don't believe in 50-50 too. So that way there's no surprises. He knows exactly what I want and how I view relationships. And if a man wants 50-50, if he doesn't want to be a provider, if he doesn't want those things, great. Me saying those things is just gonna weed that man out. Because trust me, there were definitely men who were like, oh, I don't want that. And I think oftentimes we're afraid of being upfront with what we want because we're afraid that that's gonna scare away a man. But that's exactly what you want to do. You want to weed out the men who aren't aligned with you. If you don't want a 50-50 relationship, you need to tell this man straight up, because if he's a man who wants a 50-50 relationship and you don't say anything, then 2 years into the relationship, when you guys are married, when you're figuring out finances, he's gonna be like, all right, let's split everything 50-50. And you're like, no, like I wanna be provided for. But it's like, at that point, like you haven't even spoken up to him about what you want. Because it's not about changing a man. It's not about trying to get this man to become who you want. It's about finding a man who already wants the things that you want and creating a relationship with that kind of man. This is not Build a Man workshop. We are not building men up. We are simply telling them what we want, what we desire in our relationships. And if they want the same thing, great. If we're aligned on that, great, then we can move forward. But if we're not aligned, then what's the point? What's the point in moving forward? And along with that is you want to make sure you have strong boundaries and you want to communicate them. So a high value woman, when she is dating, her energy is very hard to reach. Like she's hard to get, not because she's playing hard to get, but because she just actually is hard to get. She has this full life with visions and goals and dreams. She has friends and family and all of these things. Like a man is not her entire life. So you don't want to make yourself like too available for a man. Because again, he is not your entire life, especially in those early days when you don't even know him. So make sure that you have strong boundaries and that you clearly communicate them. So for me, when I was dating, a strong boundary was I would not just meet up with a man for a date on that same exact day. Like if he texted me in the morning like, hey, what are you doing? You want to do something tonight? No, absolutely not. Not if that's like the second or third date. No, you're planning the date long ahead. Another one of my boundaries is that I wouldn't have my first date at a coffee shop. Like if you want to take me out on a date, we're going out to a proper date to sit down and have dinner. We're not going to go to a park. We're not going to go to a coffee shop, because everything that a man does for you in the beginning is showing you exactly what he's willing to do for you. He is showing you how much effort he is willing to put into this relationship, into pursuing something with you. And you are observing all of this. So if a man just wants to take you to a coffee shop or take you to a park, it's like, what effort does that really take? That doesn't take much effort for him. And you know that you're a high value woman, and a man who wants to be in your energy needs to put in an effort to do so. He needs to plan an actual date. He needs to follow up on that date. And that's another thing too. That's another boundary, is if a man doesn't follow up on a date, then just assume you're not going on the date. If the day of the date comes and he hasn't followed up at all, then bye, make other plans, because your time is valuable, your energy is valuable, and you need to treat yourself in that way. And honestly, something that really helped me in terms of this was to think about friendships. Think about if you were getting together with a girlfriend at a coffee shop or for dinner or something, and let's say you had these plans set in place, the day would come and like she wouldn't follow up with you, you wouldn't follow up with her. Like that's just kind of rude. Like girls don't do that to each other. Like we follow up with each other, we ask each other like, hey, what are you wearing tonight? Like whatever. We follow up, we stay in contact with each other, we plan things with each other. And so you should expect that same energy from a man. Why are you gonna expect that from your best friend, but not a man? Okay, this video is getting really long and I still have way more that I wanna talk about. I might have to do a second part to this, I don't know. Yeah, or this might just be a video that's like 45 minutes long. I don't know, we'll see. But this is just literally one of my favorite topics. So, all right, so next, you wanna be in your feminine when you're dating. Let him lead, let him plan the dates, let him make the effort, let him pick you up, let him court you, let him pursue you. And this is definitely something that you may have to rewire, especially if you are used to being in your masculine, you're used to controlling everything. This is something that does take time and effort to do, is letting yourself be in your feminine, letting yourself be taken care of, and letting a man plan the date, letting him pick you up, letting him pay for dinner. And when he's paying for dinner, we're not doing the whole look for our wallet and pretend like we're gonna pay. No, no, no. We are sitting back in our feminine energy. And this doesn't mean that you need to be entitled and like expect a man to pay. It's more so that you are in your feminine energy and you're allowing yourself to receive. You're allowing yourself to be taken care of. And you can show your appreciation. You should show your appreciation. So when a man pays, sitting back, being in your feminine energy, but showing your appreciation. Thank you so much. Like this dinner was amazing. I've had such a great time with you. A high value woman allows herself to be in her feminine and allows a man to lead, allows the masculine to lead. When I am around my boyfriend, I do not lift a finger. This is something I would tell my friends all the time. In the first couple of weeks, couple of months of being with my boyfriend, when we were just dating, I didn't lift a finger at all. I didn't drive down to see him. I didn't buy anything for him. I didn't go out of my way for him. Instead, I sat back in my feminine energy and I let him show up for me. I let him drive down to see me, to pick me up, to court me, to open the doors for me. And then of course, now we've been together for 7 months. There's a lot of things that I do for him. But in those early stages of dating a man, you are seeing how he is showing up for you. So you should not be overextending yourself. You should be in your feminine energy, allowing yourself to receive. And again, this is not coming from an entitled place. This is coming from allowing yourself to see what a man is willing to do for you, to see the effort that he is willing to put in for you. And then, like I said, showing your appreciation. I think sometimes a lot of women, like, we feel like we need to give back in some way, you know, like we owe men for something, like they'll pay for some things and then like we feel bad, like we owe them something. But what we give to men isn't tangible. What we give back to them isn't something that you can grasp. You know, it's what you give to men is your energy. It's your essence. It's allowing a man to be in your presence and to be appreciated by you. A woman that's in touch with her feminine energy, a high value woman, brings so much value to a man's life, and most of it isn't tangible. She's not giving actual things to him, but her energy being in his life is allowing him to be inspired. It's allowing him to work harder in life. It's allowing him to dream bigger. You know, as women, we're really in touch with our intuition. So we can often bring these new perspectives to men and lift them up in ways that they wouldn't be able to without us. So you need to know the value that you bring, and you need to know that the value that you bring to a relationship sometimes isn't tangible. Sometimes it isn't in all the things that you can buy for him and paying for dinner in the way that he shows up for you. Sometimes it's in your energy, it's in your appreciation, it's in your love. And that's not to say never pay for anything, you know, if it's his birthday and you want to treat him, or if you see something that reminds you of him, and you buy it for him. Okay, I have 2 more points to make and then we're gonna wrap this video up. But the next thing I want to say is, if you desire a loving relationship and you want to be this high value woman and attract what you desire and attract what you deserve, stop looking. Stop going out there and looking. Instead, live your life. Your man will find you when you are living your life. So this is something I see a lot of women ask, like, where do I find high value men? Where do I go to look for a high value man? But it's like, don't look because they're everywhere. You know, a good man is literally everywhere. You can find him at a grocery store, you can find him at a bookstore. It doesn't necessarily matter like where you are specifically. It matters your energy that you're in. And it also matters that you are living your life and you are doing the things that you love doing, because when you're in that energy, you will attract that man into your life. So don't go out there looking for this man. Don't go out there looking for him. Instead, focus on living your life. Like I said in the beginning, fall in love with your own life, with your solitude. You know, have fun with your friends, go after your big dreams, create the life that you want to live, and you will attract the man who is meant for you. And I know when you've been single for a long time, sometimes that can be really frustrating to hear. Like when you hear somebody in a relationship say like, he found me when I least expected it, like don't worry, he's gonna come when you least expect it. Like that can be so frustrating to hear. Trust me, I was single for 2 years before I found my boyfriend, but it's true. Like you need to focus on living your life. And the last thing that I want to say is to know that every single no, every single failed relationship, every single failed situationship or man that left your life, every single heartbreak, breakup, whatever, every single ending is leading you closer and closer to your soulmate, to the man who is your person. Each time you say no to a man that does not deserve you or who does not live up to your standards, you are telling the universe exactly what it is you want. Something I noticed when I was dating is that I would just get closer and closer to everything I wanted. So that list that I wrote down, like I said in the beginning of the video, I noticed that every single man that I said no to, every single man that didn't work out, the next man would just be a little bit closer. He would check off one more box, and then the next man, another box. And I just noticed like I was just getting closer and closer to every single thing that I wanted on that list. until I attracted exactly what I wanted. So the longer you stay in something that you know is not right for you, the longer you're delaying your soulmate from coming into your life, the longer you're delaying that high value man, the man who wants to treat you like a princess. And you don't have to ask him to. Like, he just wants that because he's obsessed with you. He loves you. He wants to put in an effort for you. So the more you say no to the men who aren't that, the closer you're getting to that man. So I think that's gonna be it for today's video. I'm not sure how long this video ended up being, but I really hope that you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know in the comment section any questions that you have, anything that you want me to go into more depth on. I would love to know what you guys think. And on next week's episode, we're gonna be talking all about friendships, all about being a high value woman and attracting other high value women in your life. So definitely make sure to hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell so you don't miss that video. And again, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you on the next video. Bye.